Welcome to the 2016 Out and Equal Workplace Summit Sponsor Informational Webinar. Whether you are an existing Out and Equal Workplace Summit sponsor or interested in becoming one, thank you for joining us. For audio, please dial in at 303-248-0285, access code 694-6500. All lines are muted. Use the chat box on your left, and this presentation will be made available to you after the call. In the first 30 to 45 minutes, we will provide an overview of Workplace Summit sponsor levels and benefits, as well as opportunities to showcase your company. Engage your ERG and fully leverage participation and visibility for you and your company at Summit. The presentation will be followed by Q&A. On the left side of your screen, you are able to use the chat box for questions or comments, or raise your hand if you have a question. We will reply to questions during the call as appropriate, or compile and save some questions for the Q&A period. We'll begin with the 2015 Workplace Summit highlights video.
Love is love, family is family, and discrimination against love or family is wrong, and now the Supreme Court has said it's also unconstitutional.
Mr. Obama spoke at a signing ceremony for an executive order which will prohibit employment discrimination against gay and transgender workers by the federal government and its contracting agencies.
Thank you so much for coming to join this moment in which we're introducing the Equality Act of 2015.
And my dream now is that we challenge and expand our idea of diversity beyond a single identity-focused lens.
I want to say thank you to Out and Equal for this award on behalf of everyone who works on Transparent.
All across this country, right now, all across the world, at this very moment, there are young people coming to terms with being transgender. They're learning that they're different, and they're trying to figure out how to handle that.
Never felt happier as I have this day because we did it.
I'm so proud.
We did it. I'm so proud of this country.
I can't believe it. I'm so proud to be Irish.
Earlier this year, we held our very first global roundtable in Bangalore, India. It was a powerful day filled with significant conversations among 6 multinational companies in India. And we focused our discussions on how allies can make a difference.
Working together, we can help you prepare financially for when 2 becomes 3. Wells Fargo. Together we'll go far.
Everyday wholesome snacks for every wholesome family. This is wholesome.
I don't have confidence in myself for all my life, but for this, I know. We're good parents.
Being a dad, we rock.
is a better place because of every single one of you in this room who show up to work every day committed to making a difference for LGBT workplace equality.
So let's begin. My name is Stephen Huey, Director of Corporate Engagement, and I appreciate the opportunity to present to you today, along with my colleagues, Corporate Engagement Manager Arti Sharma. Also on the call is Dave Boucher, Senior Manager of Corporate Engagement, who will monitor questions throughout the call and join us during the Q&A. I oversee development, and Dave and I manage Out & Equal's portfolio of corporate accounts. As Corporate Engagement Manager, RFT's primary responsibility is to work with new sponsors who are interested in partnering with Out & Equal for both events and year-round engagement. Together, we are your main point of contact for Out & Equal. We'll begin with our first poll. Has your company sponsored the Workplace Summit in the past? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, more than 3 years, or not yet? And we see that over 50% are more than 3 years. 25% not yet, so welcome to the call. And hopefully you will be able to join us as a sponsor. About 14%, 3 years, and then a smaller percentage at only 2 years, less than 6%. Great. Thank you. This next poll is, did you attend the Workplace Summit in Dallas, which was last year, San Francisco, Minneapolis, Baltimore, or in previous years? Or you haven't attended at all, and you can check all that apply. And this is great. We're seeing over 80% who joined us in Dallas last year, about 68% San Francisco, going all the way back to Minneapolis, about 50%, Baltimore, 30%, and overall previous years, about 27%, and then for the 11% who have not attended, we hope that you find this webinar very helpful and informative. So, I'd now like to introduce Arti Sharma, our Corporate Engagement Manager, who will launch into today's presentation.
Thanks, Stephen. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us on this Summit Sponsor Informational Kickoff Call. Say that 5 times fast, that's a lot. It's great to see that so many of our past and hopefully future attendees are interested in becoming a sponsor for our 2016 Workplace Summit, which is taking place in Orlando this year. Many of you may be wondering, why should my company sponsor the Workplace Summit for the first time or sponsor again in subsequent years, or maybe your company sponsored a few years ago and you are really interested in getting your company to partner with Out & Equal again. So as Stephen mentioned, over the next few minutes, we're really hoping to provide you with the information that you need that will encourage your company to come on board as a sponsor. And if you are sponsoring again or for the first time, know that you are an excellent company. We work with over 200 other companies and government agencies. Last year at our Workplace Summit in Dallas, we had over 3,100 attendees representing all 50 states and 31 countries, which is pretty incredible. one of the key things that we really try to work with companies on is making a business case. So why is it beneficial for your company to partner with Out and Equal and have a contingency or a contingent of employees at our Workplace Summit? So we really think it boils down to three large reasons that a company should partner with Out and Equal. So one is visibility. So as a company, the prominence of partnering with Out and Equal makes it easily recognizable to people who attend our summit that your company is an employer of choice for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and ally employees. So while your intent may not be for recruitment and retention and all that, or maybe it is, but having your logo and being in partnership with Out and Equal provides a visibility to not just the people who attend the conference, but the people they work with as well. So the reach is really not just in the thousands, but in the millions of employees that partnership can really touch. Another key aspect of why you should partner is empowerment. So when we say we offer a rich series of workshops, roundtables, panels, plenaries, and events at the summit, we really do mean rich in that we have over 90 opportunities for people to get the education that they need, and we think that education and empowerment really go hand in hand. So when employees are equipped with the education, the training, the techniques that they learn through attending these workshops and plenaries at Summit, they have the opportunity and the obligation to bring that back to their workplace to really make it a better place for all employees. And as I mentioned, education. So we have opportunities through workshops, roundtables, and things like that, but we also provide plenty of opportunities for networking and the opportunities for there to be peer-to-peer learning. So while we understand that you may not have the opportunity to engage in dialogue about how to increase D&I efforts in your workplace, we certainly provide the opportunity for you to speak with people who are your peer at other companies to get their feedback and to hear what's really worked well for them.
Great. Thanks, Arti. So now we're going to jump into the 2016 Workplace Summit sponsor levels. And for 2016, our sponsor levels have been expanded and include additional benefits and new pricing. You'll note on the bottom there is the Premier level, and Premier is a new sponsor level that we have added for the first time. And this is for Summit sponsors who have lapsed and plan to return in 2016. The sponsor levels offered are from the top: Presenting, Titanium, Gold, Champion, Advocate, and Premier. As this slide shows, corporate sponsorships begin at $10,000 for Premier, but for most sponsors, there is the standard Advocate level beginning at $25,000, with Champion, Gold, Titanium leading up to Presenting at $115,000. We understand the importance of return on investment, and this year's sponsor levels include increased registrations for greater company participation. So this next slide is showing you the sponsor levels and benefits. So it shows the 6 standard sponsored levels, the pricing, and then the benefits associated. On this slide where it says tickets, think of tickets as registrations. And so when you look at the field for tickets, those are registrations, ticketed events, and the VIP reception. The most significant change is in registrations and access to ticketed events. To make it simpler, we no longer offer discounted ultra early bird, and standard registration rates that expired within set time frames. Instead, we increased the overall number of complimentary 3-day registrations included in Champion through Presenting sponsor levels. Plus, we added more VIP reception registrations and matched that with entry to your choice of ticketed events. So those of you who have attended in the past know that in the past we offered ticketed events where we would ask for names and we would basically reserve seating at these ticketed events. But now, for example, if you're Titanium, you would receive 23-day registrations for the full conference as well as 20 ticketed event tickets, and in that case, and VIP. And so in that case, you would just select which event you would like to go to. And for Gold to Presenting sponsors, we added 1 to 3 registrations to our annual executive forum, which is held annually in March. And this brings together out LGBT senior executives, LGBT emerging leaders, and LGBT allies for intensive LGBT equality training and leadership development. If you are an LGBT exec or an ERG executive sponsor, an ERG lead, or playing a significant role as an LGBT ally and advocate, then the Executive Forum is for you. This year's Executive Forum, by the way, is taking place March 22nd through the 24th at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco. And as an aside, if you're interested in attending or want more information around the Executive Forum, please contact me, Arthi, or Dave. I just want to mention that not listed but available is a special government agency sponsor level at $15,000. This includes the same benefits that you see as a premier sponsor, but we've added in a 10x10 booth in the exhibit hall. And if you are a government agency on the call, please contact Dave Boucher. He will be working directly with government agencies this year.
Another opportunity that comes with sponsoring Out and Equal's Workplace Summit is branding opportunities. So we really emphasize this as an opportunity for companies who have visibility as one of the key reasons for partnering with Out and Equal, and really having the opportunity to let employees of other companies as well as their own know that they are in support with Out and Equal. So now I'll go through just a few of the branding options available with each sponsorship level, but if you have any questions or ideas for other branding opportunities, if you're more interested in not something that's conventional, if you are more interested in lounge areas or charging stations or whatever your craziest idea might be, we definitely encourage you to reach out to myself or Stephen or Dave to have conversations about what we can make happen. So as a presenting sponsor, the presenting sponsors would get the opportunity to sponsor our Summit Opening Brunch, which is the event that kicks off Summit, or we also offer the Power Lunch or the Gala Celebration, which happens at the end of Summit and really closes the 3 days of the Summit, which is really exciting. And you can see it pictured on the top left is a photo from our Gala Celebration last year in Dallas. An opportunity for titanium level sponsors is titanium sponsors can sponsor one of our ticketed events. So for those of you who may have attended Summit for the first time last year or you haven't attended yet, when we refer to ticketed events, we're referring to events that require the purchase of a separate ticket. So it's not included in your general registration. So the 3 that we hold are the women's breakfast, an executive lunch or government lunch. Another opportunity at the titanium level is to sponsor the VIP reception or the general reception, which is held before our gala celebration. So the picture on the slideshow that you see here is from our gala reception at Dallas, and that event was sponsored by our partner Thomson Reuters. At the gold level, there are a lot of branding opportunities, which a lot of our gold level sponsors really got creative and created memorable experiences through their branding. So options really run the gamut, and the ones that I'm going to talk about now are ones that we offer. But again, if you and your company have something else in mind, definitely approach us and we'll work all the details out. So some of the options range from hotel branding. So our partner Tylenol PM had customized key cards at the Anatole Hotel, as well as elevator signage and decorations. We also partnered with Miller Coors and Texas Instruments as our sponsors for our Night Out event, which was held on the second day of Summit and provided an opportunity for people to get a feel for Dallas and to enjoy some time outside of the hotel and outside of the conference. Another event which is really, really popular is our newcomers orientation, which our summit orientation, which some of us refer to as newcomers orientation, but is certainly not limited to newcomers. So this event includes a speaking opportunity for an executive at your company, and last year was attended by over 500 people, and that really gives attendees a lay of the land in terms of the hotel, what they can expect over the next few days, and answers any questions they may have. And companies who join us at the champion sponsorship level have the opportunities of sponsoring a featured panel, a workshop, or one of our Leadership Day seminars. So for us in 2016, our Leadership Day will take place on Tuesday, October 4th. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Leadership Day, I'll be talking about it a little bit more later on.
Great. So beyond the booth, a company exhibit hall booth is included for sponsor levels, advocate, through presenting. Only the premier level does not include a booth, but upgrades to larger booths are also available. And the exhibit hall, which is open all 3 days of Summit, is an active hub for networking, learning about other companies, meeting colleagues throughout the event. We're also happy to offer ideas as to how you might want to use your booth based on past experience. Promoting products, services, those aren't the only options. Sharing your achievement in support of the LGBT community and raising awareness around social responsibility or corporate giving also make powerful statements. One feature that sets our summit apart from other conferences is that we offer the opportunity for companies to engage their marketing and creative teams to promote product and brand, create unique and special branded events, and elevate their presence through other venues that are directly affiliated with Summit. Pictured here in this slide, you'll see the PepsiCo Lounge. It's the second year in a row where PepsiCo created an amazing lounge for all attendees. The one on the top, that's the JCPenney Makeover booth, which was very, very popular. And then the Mass Mutual Retirement Wall, and that's where everyone at the summit wrote down on the wall what they would like to accomplish before they retire. So that was a lot of fun. But all of these were well received and certainly highlights at last year's summit.
And this slide here shows the registration rates for the 2016 Workplace Summit. While we know that it's not possible for all companies, but if you are able to plan ahead and know the size of the group that you'd like to bring from your company, we highly recommend prepaying for a group of registrations for a lot of different reasons, but one of them being the cost. So our early bird rate, as you can see for standard corporate, is $1,500, and that ends on June 14th. So that gives you a little over 5 months at this point to get that number, to get the number together to pre-order your tickets. And if you know the number, but we understand that each company handles who gets to attend or how that process works. We know that is really company dependent. So at the time of purchasing your tickets, you don't necessarily need to know the name of all your attendees, just the number that you anticipate attending. So Stephen mentioned a little earlier that we have changed a few things, and it really has come out of feedback from the corporate partners that we work with and just running our data analysis of what seems to be the most popular and work well for the people who attend our summit. So as you can see, for those of you who have participated in years past, we have limited, as Stephen said, the number of registration types and rate periods. You'll also notice that we're no longer offering a 2-day registration, so we really are encouraging people to attend the full 3-day package or the Leadership Day, which is a separate ticket. If your company wants to invite some of your employees and colleagues to attend just our gala that's the last day of Summit, gala tickets are certainly still available for purchase, so that part of this process hasn't changed at all. So as I mentioned earlier, we have Leadership Day, and our Leadership Day will take place again Tuesday, October 4th, which is different from last year where in Dallas it was on a Monday. So this year we've moved it to Tuesday. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Leadership Day are day-long seminars that provide really a more in-depth opportunity to develop expertise, increase your own professional development, and bring back best practices related to LGBT workplace equality. So there will be different groups that you can work with. So if you're a member of an ERG or BRG in terms of helping to move your group from one to the other, or if there'll be specific areas that if you want to have a more in-depth look, that will be your opportunity to make that happen. And it also involves a lot of key leaders and experts in our field to be able to participate in those smaller groups.
Great. So commitment to fulfillment. Arthi, Dave, and myself, we work with you. We work with our sponsor contacts through the various stages, before, during, and after summit. And so from commitment to fulfillment, we'll discuss partnership opportunities in detail with you, including possibilities for customized packages that meet your needs. We generate the invoice, make sure that you have that in time for you to process. And also, we will be your primary sponsor contact throughout. We'll also introduce you to other Out and Equal teammates who will be directly responsible for the exhibit hall, summit programming, summit events, print, logo, all of that, and ensure that deadlines are met and that fulfillment of the agreement is set before and during summit. So that's a huge piece for us because we certainly want to guarantee that you have a positive experience at summit.
So while the focus of today's webinar is on summit sponsorship opportunities, we're sure that many of you have questions about more logistic things, so about housing, if you'd like to submit a workshop or panel topic or a number of other questions. Out and Equal will be hosting a summit kickoff webinar on Thursday, February 18th at 12 p.m. Pacific, where our colleagues will go over a lot of summit-related information and answer any questions that you might have. For those of you who are interested in presenting a workshop or participating in a feature panel, the webinar on the 18th will also go over timelines, best practices, and highlights from the 2015 summit. So when we say highlights, we're referring to panels and workshops that were particularly popular or things that people expressed interest in seeing at a future workplace summit. And for individuals who are wondering if or why they should attend Summit, our colleagues will discuss the multitude of educational and networking opportunities that are available for all attendees, regardless of sponsorship involvement or not.
So here are some important dates to keep in mind. Summit registration will open on February 4th. Housing also opens on February 4th, and that's because you've got to register in order to book your housing. But there are also two hotels. So the host hotel or the anchor hotel is the Walt Disney World, Swan, and Dolphin Resort. The Disney Yacht and Beach Club resorts, which are adjacent to one another, are the overflow hotels. And then you can, of course, book group housing, and we recommend that strongly, especially if you have a large contingent, to make sure that we reserve a block of rooms for you. The call for workshops will take place, that's the period of February 18th is when it begins, and the call for workshops proposals will be able to be submitted through March 31st. For the Audi Award nominations, it hasn't yet been determined, but we're showing spring of 2016 because that's usually around April, May, and June. And then the exhibit hall floor plan, once you've confirmed that you're going to use your space, or if we're creating a unique space for you within the exhibit hall, that floor plan comes out around July or August. So we covered a lot of information on this call, and now it's time for Q&A. We hope we've addressed the majority. We will be able to address the majority of your questions, but if not, or if you need more clarity or more detailed information, our emails are up there. I'm Stephen. Dave Boucher is going to join us during the Q&A, and Arthi, who presented, our corporate engagement manager. And remember that the upcoming summit kickoff call will take place on February 18th. So I am going to ask Dave to open the floor to questions, and we'll hopefully address all that you may be wondering about. Dave?
Thank you, Stephen. They're finally going to let me say something. So I just want to start by saying thank you to all of our sponsors. We have quite a few 2016 sponsors already, and to our possible new sponsors for this year. We did have a question from Brandon, and Brandon was asking if we could please clarify a little more the purchase options, in particular Gala, Leadership Day, and 3-Day.
So, Brandon, if you're asking about the actual registration, if you're a Workplace Summit sponsor, what's included in your package is registration for 3 days at Summit. For Leadership Day, it's a separate purchase. And so that would be where you would actually purchase at the standard corporate rate, depending on the timing of that individual attending. For again, going back to a sponsor registration, so a sponsorship, and in your case it's Toyota, depending on what level you come in at, you would receive, let's say you come in as a gold. So what is part of your package is 10 3-day registrations, 10 VIP tickets, and 10 tickets for the ticketed events.
Great, thanks, Stephen. Crystal is asking, will you be incorporating a recruiting event this year?
So, Crystal, we are taking a very close look at it, and I'll just be very clear that we understand that LGBT retention, so in terms of recruiting, retention, and promotion is very important. Last year we tried for the first time a career pavilion within the exhibit hall. And so we certainly want to try to do this once again because we think that it truly adds a benefit. But we're working on exactly what that's going to look like. We need to make sure that companies are engaged, that attendees are comfortable, and that we offer it within within the proper venue across the correct amount of time. And I say that because if we add a recruitment piece to the summit, then it also means that those companies participating have to be sure that they can make staff available. And so it's just another component. But we will share definitely how that may play out.
Great. We have another question from Consuelo. Can you please talk a little bit more about panel content submissions? And are these tied to sponsorship? And what's the timeline for submissions, like the start and the end time?
Yeah, so when I mentioned those important dates to remember, and now I've got to go back and look at them. Can we go back to, thank you. So the call for workshops, that's February 18th to March 31st. So in answer to your question, much of our programming is really brought to us by our sponsors. as you can imagine, many sponsors who work around LGBT workplace equality throughout the year, they have much to share. And so in terms of what they are able to present for the benefit of all attendees, it certainly informs what our content is going to be. But we have a timeline where these proposals are submitted. We have to vet them, look at whether or not it is something that's appropriate to Summit, but also who are the experts, who else shares the same interests. So it takes a bit of time to really go through that process so that we end up with a healthy and robust program of about 90 to 100 different workshops. So, and then you don't have to be a sponsor in order to submit. So hopefully that answers your question. But on the call in February, that is going to be covered in detail.
Stephen, could you move back to the sponsor slide page and just put it up there for people to see? Again, I believe that
the different levels?
The different levels, yeah, please.
There you go.
Okay. And Michelle is asking, are there any workshops on Monday or just the leadership ones on Tuesday?
So Michelle, as you mentioned, in the past, the summit fell on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, led by Monday being Leadership Day, but we're shifting back a day. So nothing is happening on Monday. People are probably arriving on Monday for Leadership Day that begins on Tuesday. And Summit officially begins on Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday. So, in the past, everyone planned their time at Summit so that they departed Friday, given that it ended Thursday night. So everything gets pushed back a day.
Okay, and Marina would like to know if someone could please summarize any feedback we received from 2015 and or what changes to the format or content can be expected in 2016.
Arthi, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Before I answer Marina's question, I'll just add, piggyback off of the dates that you were just mentioning for Summit this year. So in having Summit take place Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we should also mention that Orlando Pride is happening the following day on that Saturday. So you can definitely make a whole week out of your time in Orlando if you choose to. In terms of feedback that we received in 2015, I think one of the things that comes to top of mind for me is that people really wanted more support around our help in terms of when we describe panels to indicate what level is most appropriate. So when I say that, I mean some workshops and panels are really geared towards those who maybe are looking to start an employee resource group at their work. Maybe they don't have one, maybe they just started one, they're in the beginning phase, while others have been a part of ERGs or BRGs or another resource group for 5 or 10 years. So that's just one piece of feedback, but I think we've certainly kept that in mind in order to help people determine which workshops they should go to. And each company that I can think of handles it a little bit differently. So if you're on your own, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure in terms of finding the right workshop to go to. But for those who are attending with a few more colleagues, some people choose to all attend the same one. Others choose to break it up and determine, what makes the most sense for them. And so those are conversations that you and your colleagues can have Monday evening before Workplace Summit starts or throughout and go from there. Is there maybe one more thing, Stephen, that you can think of in terms of feedback you've heard?
No, there's certainly a lot of other feedback that I'm happy to share. Just so you know, after Summit, Dave, myself, and now Arthi, we do schedule calls with our key sponsors, and we love to hear feedback because it helps us to truly understand what the impact is and where we can improve. Some of the comments that we were very pleased to hear was the Thomson Reuters Convene app. The fact that our program, the bios of presenters, everything was on the app. It made things simple. It was well designed, and Thomson Reuters just did a terrific job in really helping us so that 3,000 attendees could truly navigate and plan for the summit. I think that also our ticketed events, I think those were highlights. We had the government luncheon, the women's luncheon, the executive luncheon, and the regional affiliate breakfast, I believe. But what I want to comment about that is for many companies who bring their executives, those ticketed events are truly elevated opportunities to get to know Out and Equal, to meet peers, and to truly understand, from the executive level, what Out and Equal does in terms of changing company cultures and moving forward, not just domestically but globally, and really tackling issues that are pertinent to today's workplace. But the feedback was also where we think there's improvement, as I mentioned, with the Career Pavilion, the Gala. 2 years ago, you were given as a sponsor seating at Gala, but not the plenaries. We changed that this last year to make sure that you all know where to sit and that you have designated seating. The Gala, we're looking for this year to look at it differently, which will be on a Friday night, and take advantage of being on a Disney property, but also making it more of a celebration. So we learn, lessons around that to improve, kind of the overall experience and opportunity to really engage with everyone that's at Summit.
And Stephen, you touched on this briefly earlier, but Michelle is asking, in addition to the complimentary registrations with sponsorship, is there also a reduction or discount for other attendees outside of those complimentary registrations?
So I think, Michelle, you're asking in terms of registration rates. So what I just changed the screen back to is you see these standard corporate rates. These are the rates outside of what's covered in a sponsorship. So regardless of what level you're at, $1,500 is the standard rate up until June 14th. Now, if you're a company that, let's say, is planning to send over 20 in additional to what's included in your package, then we will definitely look at a discounted rate. The challenge that we face is oftentimes we'll do a prepaid invoice for, let's say, 20 registrations at a certain rate, but oftentimes our sponsors, because the payment for registration may not come out of diversity and inclusion or, at one source, and it has to come from different line of business managers, we have to really take a close look at how invoicing takes place. But it is possible. It's something to bring up during your discussion with myself, Dave, or Arthi.
Great, thanks. We had a question from Brenna, and I'll take that one. Brenna's asking, when is the deadline for sponsorship for this year's summit? And, we actually don't have an official deadline, but the earlier you make your commitment, the more time both you and Out and Equal have to prepare for the ultimate summit experience. So in other words, the earlier you get in, the more visibility you have available time-wise. And then, Brandon, Stephen, can you provide literature on the Leadership Day? For example, summary. We'd like to be able to show our execs something as there is an opportunity to engage more of them.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Those who attend Leadership Day are generally HR, diversity and inclusion professionals, ERG leads, executives. It's open to everyone, but I will indeed make sure that Events provides us with a draft of what the programming is going to look like, and I know that the topics that will be covered are soon to be released, so we will definitely get that out to everyone.
And question from Frank. Would like to know if there's a significant distance between the venue and the overflow venue.
That was mentioned yesterday to us, that it's a short walk, but in Orlando, nothing's a short walk. I believe it is actually about a 20-minute walk, and I don't think that's a short walk in the morning. I don't think that helps a lot, Frank, but we'll find out more information, and I think that's going to be covered. I'm sorry, I'm being corrected. It's about 5 minutes, so that's not terrible. But that's going to be covered on January 18th to really talk about the hotels. I'm sorry, February 18th. Thanks, Arthi.
No problem.
Okay, another question we have. If I want to buy a group of registrations at the early bird rate, do I need to know the names of the people attending at the time of purchase?
I can take this one. You do not need to know the names of your registrants at that point. As I mentioned earlier, we think it's a great idea if you already have it allocated in your budget, for example, or have a sense of how many people your company can send. In terms of invoicing and getting that process started, we would need to know the number of attendees, but not their names just yet. So our colleagues in our events team would follow up with you in regards to collecting those names or providing registration codes and things like that with you at a later date. But in terms of just getting the process started and booking it at that early bird rate, we would not need to know the names.
Okay, and here's a good question. It was mentioned in the sponsorship table. What is a video reel? And the video reel is a way for us to provide additional recognition for our sponsors. We compile a list of rotating logos, and we show them at a fast pace, and we put them to music, and they're presented at each of the plenary sessions. And it's really a lot of fun. As everyone, each company sees their logo and they jump up, and it's, it's just a kind of a different way to give recognition to our sponsors in a fun way. And also, we do put together a compilation video of all of the ads that are submitted for the program book, and we show those also at the conference. So, good question. Next question, we have time for just a couple more. Do sponsors get reserved seating at the gala dinner?
Yes, I mentioned that a little earlier, that we changed it effective last year, where you have reserved seating at the 2 plenaries and the gala dinner.
Okay.
There's another question that I see about branding opportunities and how do we do that. So if I could, I just want to squeeze that in. There are different branding opportunities based on your sponsor level, and we try to offer an array of branding opportunities at Summit. The standard events covered today, those are quickly claimed due to high visibility and popularity. And so that's just, if you as a sponsor have an idea around the event that you would like to host, please make sure that's part of the initial conversation. The customized branding opportunities take some additional time. We've got to see how it fits into the overall summit, the cost, the space, location, all of that. and of course working with the Disney Resort. Something that I didn't mention earlier that I hope sponsors might consider is that we also offer space for company receptions, where you can set up a company office space, private meet and greets, and company-hosted industry events. These are just some of the possibilities. So if that's of interest to you as well, then that's something that we would be happy to talk to you about.
Okay, and let's do one last question. And if we didn't get to your question, we will respond to them after the call one-on-one. But please keep in mind that you can contact one of us three lovely people at any time to answer your question. This one is about Leadership Day, and the question is, if I'm the only one coming from my company, will there be networking opportunities to meet people in my industry? And again, this is for Leadership Day, and the answer is absolutely. And with an average of 200 to 300 people enrolled for Leadership Day, it's a good size to be able to to do networking. But keep in mind that there's also networking opportunities for the summit, where we'll have 300 plus people, and both of them are great opportunities to network within industries.
Great. Do we have any more questions?
Stephen, I just had one thing that I wanted to add before we close up, and that's really for those of you who are on the call who haven't had the opportunity to attend the Workplace Summit before. I really recommend it. Obviously, this is a call geared towards sponsorship and corporations engaging with us at that level. But I attended my first Workplace Summit last year, and it's really hard to give the event to do the event justice, because it's so fantastic, and to be surrounded by over 3,000 people who are excited to be at the same place for at least 3 days, to network with each other, to learn from each other, and just to have a great experience. It's really something that you have to do in person to understand it and to be able to advocate for it in your workplace. So it's just something that I really encourage those who are able to do to pursue. We also have opportunities for scholarships for those who need a little more support in terms of if they're attending on their own and aren't able to sponsor this year. So we really have different avenues to help support people in terms of sponsorship and attending the conference itself. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you, Arthi.
No
So
problem.
we will close with a very short video introducing Orlando. And please stay on the call, the webinar, after. There is a survey, very quick survey, where we would love your feedback, and also it gives you the opportunity to let us know if you would like additional information, or if we from the corporate engagement team can reach out to you. So thank you very much for your time. We hope that you will join us on February 18th. And reach out to myself, Dave, or Arthi should you have any additional questions. Thanks so much, and we hope to see you at Summit.